Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Lawanda.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And today we are back to talk about Ozark. We kicked things off a few weeks ago discussing episodes 1 and 2. And today we are back to talk about episodes 3 and 4. So if you hang tight, we'll get started. Like I said, we are talking Ozark today. We are doing episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3 was titled City on the Make, and episode 4 is titled Ace Deuce. So where things left off last time, Maya was set to go meet with Navarro, and nobody really knew what was going to become of the meeting. So this third episode, we finally get to see what happened in the meeting. And, Navarro really wasn't ready to make a deal. And Maya was kind of pissed off. Like, you're not serious. Why would you, call me out here, go through all of this trouble if you're really not ready to give nothing up? And she was basically like letting him know it's, anything that you do in exchange for the assistance moving as you want to move across country border lines. She's like, you're going to have to give some stuff up. And it seemed like Navarro is just like the person that thinks he can have it all and not give anything. So she was upset.
Well, she was telling him that he was going to have to do jail time.
Exactly.
So he wasn't feeling that.
And she was letting him know, like, if you don't, basically she was saying, like, the government has to feel like arresting you or doing something for you is not inconvenient for them. They want something out of the deal.
Well,
work for them.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I think the government was asking for way too much, because not only do you want him to give up everything, but you also want him to spend some jail time, which really is
you want him to snitch.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You want him to snitch, you want him to give up everything, and then do jail time. That's a death sentence. So what are you really asking of him? Mm-hmm. So, and I thought that was a bit much for her to even bother to ask. I mean, if it's going to be a negotiation, you can't ask me to negotiate my own death sentence. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So if, because remember what she said sometimes the government, there were two factors why the government may go after you or may not, something to the effect that you may not even be big enough for us to be bothered with. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is because you cooperate with us, and you provide us the information we're looking for, which is on that line that they're trying to establish. But to ask him to negotiate his own death, because he will die in jail if he becomes a snitch. Mm-hmm. So, or you can ask, well, what sort of protections are you going to give me when I'm in there? And I really can't guarantee that you'll get that from the government.
But his ask is big too. So it's like, it has to weigh itself out, because he got a pretty big ask himself.
He does, but it's the lesser of two evils. If you want to crack all these cartels, and I'm sure he knows, quite a bit more than he's willing to even let on at this point. Mm-hmm. If you want to crack all those cartels, then you got to give him something that's paramount to what he wants. Just me. I don't know.
But what I do like about Maya is that she stood her ground against him. Like, you could tell she was a little bit scared and apprehensive about the meeting, but she really showed up and had her game face on, and she wasn't intimidated by him, once she went into his presence. So I do like that about her. Like, she plays hardball.
Yeah, but when she got back to the house, she took her baby and rolled.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm out of here. What you got me into. Right. So she kept her poker face on there, but she definitely rolled out when she got back to the Byrde's house.
Got that right.
Yeah, it's funny. And, Navarro completely blew it with her. So it's like the whole deal kind of fell apart. And now with this pharmaceutical deal that Marty and Wendy are trying to do, Navarro's like, I'm not giving you the sample for that until, you get me back in good with Maya. And so they have to basically, continue to jump through all of these hoops to make everything work. And I think, Ron, you might have brought this up in our previous recap, but it's like this show, it does a really good job at presenting new obstacles. And it's like everybody has to, do one thing to gain this access to something else that'll pay off later on for this thing. And it's like a big domino effect of like things you have to do to get things done.
Yeah, that was me, because I talked about how they did a good job of raising the stakes.
Yeah.
And getting us invested in these characters.
Yes.
But I do like the way it's done, though. I mean, it's not, you don't kind of question the realism,
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And
it's reasonable. It's like within the scope of the show. It makes sense if you were in that situation. It's not so outlandish that it's like,
right.
I wouldn't believe this.
Right. The writing is so tight. And the acting is phenomenal too.
Yeah, it is. Now, we talked a lot about Jonah and Wendy and their whole feud last time. And Jonah just keeps pushing buttons. I mean, this boy is really kind of like off the hook. And so Wendy was trying to make peace with the kids. She created this little remembrance spot for them to go and reflect on Ben. And, Jonah continues to be a butthole. He's kind of like being stubborn with her, talking back. And she was like, well, you can make another one when you kill me too. Like just being a smart aleck.
Well, Wendy got to get a grip. Y'all didn't beat his behind when he was younger. Y'all probably put a switch to him instead of a 3-inch leather belt.
They ain't doing no switch either.
I know somebody's probably going to say that's abuse, but I'm going to tell you, children turn out differently when you put it on the behind when they're young. So
the Bible even says don't spare the rod.
So if you're a Christian, you understand that. But, Wendy, building a memorial is not going to satisfy Jonah. Nothing is going to satisfy Jonah but Jonah.
Wendy was like, I had it with you though. She cut him off, clicked the power to the basement.
but that emotional swing that that Wendy did by cutting him off like that could cause a problem.
Yeah.
And so,
but I think Wendy, we talked about this last time too. Like, do you continue to allow him to be disrespectful and try to appease him by being nice and whatever, or do you put your foot down as a parent and say like, okay, if this is what you want to do, then there's going to be consequences.
My way or the highway.
Exactly.
Listen, as I said last time, Jonah, he has a right to feel the way he feels because it is Wendy's fault that Ben is gone. However, he is a child. And I feel the same way she did as far as like, how you going to be in my house doing whatever, a minor child? Yeah, I'd have cut the electricity off too. Like, now what you going to do? But then when he took it upon himself to move out, like, how you moving your stuff? You 14. Like, I would definitely be laying down the law.
And, I like, because Marty confronted Ruth about bringing Jonah into work with her. And he basically like, oh, he's just a kid. And she was like, I was just a kid when you pulled me in. And so I like that Ruth kind of like made him realize that you did the same thing to me, and you didn't see any problem with it. So I guess the thing is they're being kind of hypocritical when it comes down to their family. It's like, we'll protect ours.
I started to say the same thing. And Wendy, you're being very hypocritical talking about the illegal activity that my son is doing that she believes Marty is, egging on. But look at what y'all are doing.
Yeah. And Wendy, she had a complete meltdown when she seen Jonah in the driveway with Ruth. And Wendy has this thing where every time she sees something she doesn't like, especially when it comes to Ruth, she throws the Ben stuff up in her face. And so she was like, you're the reason Ben is dead. If he would have stayed in the hospital, none of this would have ever happened. And so it's like it continues to make the situation worse.
Wendy deserves the hands.
Yes.
I think Wendy deserves the hands because not only is she, responsible for Ben, I don't even like how she's carrying the situation, bringing him out, using him for this this rehab situation and everything.
Yeah.
And that's gonna come back to bite her too.
Yeah. And Lauren, do you have something to add?
I was going to say that Wendy tends to escalate a lot of issues. She escalates a lot of things, whether it's with her, Darlene, Ruth. She has this knack for wanting it want to get the upper hand, to get the
She's so
last laugh.
vindictive.
Yeah, she is very vindictive, and it always ends up making matters worse for them. I don't know if she always can see that she's going to see it with Ben, because she continued to use him almost as a marketing ploy, how that came back. But it's almost like she doesn't get it, that she's instigating, she's escalating issues, things that would just probably stay. She makes them more explosive, right?
Yeah.
Because whatever she does, Ruth or Darlene is always going to have an answer for her.
Yeah, and in episode 4, you heard Marty kind of tell her, like, you need to chill with this Ben stuff. Like, you can't be using him like that. And sure enough, it comes back to bite her, because, then it starts bringing attention to the fact that Ben is missing. And that's in episode 4. We'll talk more about it when we get to episode 4. But Wendy is kind of just like, she's unhinged a little bit. She does what she wants to do.
I think she thinks she's smarter than what she is. And while she is smart and strategic and stuff, I definitely think she's smarter than what she thinks she is.
Or she uses her.
I mean, she thinks she is.
Which, and like you said, she may be smart, but I think she puts her emotions first, and then, may go back and try to think things through. I know she does that with Jonah. So it's all emotional because, in theory, if Jonah is going to act the way he does, and he's not going to obey you, he doesn't like you anymore, whatever this case is, then you got to let him go. And if you don't want him doing illegal activity in your house, then put him out. I mean,
but he's 14.
You can't have it both ways. So, either you're going to shut him down completely. Like, for instance, when Jonah walked out of the house an episode or 2 back, when she told him not to go and he went anyway. Okay, that's hangman time. So you're either going to tie him up in his room and, enforce him. And you can't do that at 14 because he's never been disciplined before. So you got a wayward 14-year-old who wants to do and will do what he wants to do. He's got to go.
Who has another source of income? Who doesn't need money? So
well, he said he's his savings is in the 6 figures. So it ain't like he's hurting for anything.
Well, you see her solution. Her solution was to get him locked up.
Right.
she was like, okay, well, he's gonna be disobedient. How about we get him locked up? She was like, he won't serve any real time. We know people, we connected,
But,
and it sounds like a terrible thing to say coming from a mother. But when you're in that situation and you have a child, like you gotta do what you gotta do. Just like she had to do what she had to do with Ben. She got to do what she got to do with Jonah.
And
that same kind of do what you got to do got Ghost killed. But
yeah.
Well, you know what? Speaking of Ghost. Yeah, I don't know. I was about to go there because on social media, there is a poll going right now between who is the worst between Tariq St. Patrick and Jonah.
Jonah
so
got
the
it.
2 shows have converged already. And so a lot of people, and it's a real debate. It was trending on Twitter and everything about who is worse between Tariq and Jonah. I think I might give the edge to Tariq because Tariq actually got bodies.
Right, but Jonah is enough to make you want to choke him out.
But Jonah makes me want to come through the TV on him because the way he's behaving with the parents and stuff, Go
ahead, Ron.
I'm sorry. I like Jonah being the worst, and the fact, and one reason only, is because at least Tariq is trying to be his own man. And Jonah, you're trying to live in both worlds, son. You want to be, at home, comfortable where you are, doing whatever you want to do, and at the same time, you want to piss off your parents. You got to make up your mind. Who are you going to be? You're going to be a child, or you're going to be a grown man? You got 6 figures in the bank. Yes, you're 14, but go out and do you. Leave your parents alone, because a couple of times he's put his parents in situations that could have been very harmful by running his big mouth. So you got the money, make your own mind up. Be a man.
And you know what? Go ahead, Tiff.
No, I was just gonna say the one thing I'll give Tariq is that Tariq actually loved his mom too.
Yeah.
And he's just like he'll do anything for Tasha. So the disrespect that Jonah is showing his parents.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And I wanted to ask you guys, because this issue with Erin came back up in this episode, and we were wondering kind of like what's going to happen with her. And so, what do you think about Charlotte telling Erin the truth? Was that a good move or not?
I wasn't mad at her for telling the truth. I was mad at her for the threat that came afterwards.
Yeah.
I would have more than
Yes.
said that, you know, what happened to her can happen to all of us. It can happen to you, but for her to take the position of she threatening them like her family would do it, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why she did that. That didn't make sense to me.
That was a Wendy move. I feel like Charlotte is, you know, is
Wendy
starting
Jr.
to act like Wendy. Yeah, she is.
Both of the kids act like Wendy for real. They got it honest.
But you know,
But
I guess you
Go
got to ask yourself though, after telling Aaron that, what, you know, there are two things she can do. She can receive the information and forget all about it, or she can. So, you know, I guess she had to put that caveat in there about what can happen if you start to run your mouth, or if you start to do anything about it. So in a way, I understand it, why she said it, but yeah, it does make her family look even worse to Aaron, you know. So I guess it's, you know, it's a play of cards, you know, play your hand. And she played that hand. We'll have to see if
Yeah.
that.
I
hand-
think she was thinking if she could invoke fear in Aaron, maybe she'll shut her mouth. But sometimes that backfires.
It does.
Yeah,
It
I
does.
don't see, for me, I don't see Erin sitting on that too long.
No.
Because that's her mom. So
Yeah.
I feel like she's gonna tell somebody.
And then but she also put them in a position of being complicit, because they're not necessarily responsible for what happened to Helen. Navarro made that decision,
Correct.
right? And so as long as you're in that position, that means we were all threatened. Our lives were all at risk. But for her to then say, we will hurt you,
Yeah.
then you put yourself in a line
Yeah,
of
she
fire.
taking
You're not a
ownership,
victim
was she?
anymore. Yeah. I was
She's
like,
like-
okay.
Yeah, because no, go ahead.
I see what she was trying to do, but you know, I'm always thinking like if she has a wire, I'm not confessing. You know what I mean? I'm not confessing. I'm a victim too. I'm afraid for my life too.
Well, I mean, simply saying you start to run your mouth, then all the information about Helen becomes public knowledge. And if Helen is brought into play, so is Navarro, the whole cartel. So you're opening up a can of worms that you may not want to open up by running your mouth. So keeping your mouth closed about what happened is the best thing for us all, because not only will you die, we will die along with you.
Yeah, and it's true. So I really just I thought that was a bad move on their behalf, but I mean, I'm
You see,
waiting to see
Marty
how
was
it
like,
plays
no.
out.
And that's why I rock with Marty, because
Marty's always the voice of reason.
he's a voice of reason. He's unflappable. His temperament is just steady. And that's why I like Marty. Wendy was the one like, yeah, it's a good idea. I'm like, Wendy,
Horrible,
Right.
horrible.
So let me ask you a question. You don't see how the two of them, attitudinally wise, makes for a complete unit. I mean, even though Wendy is kind of off the chain sometimes, but you can't be like this in the drug cartel the whole, you know, all the time.
oh, they make a good team.
There are ebbs and flows, and you got to
They
have
make a
somebody.
good team.
The
Yeah.
problem is they don't communicate with each other
Well,
enough.
that's the problem. I think, but then again, you know, they both want to be kind of bosses into this thing. So, you know, Wendy,
Wendy wants to be a boss.
Well, she's
I
more.
think Marty just wants to stay alive and get up out of there.
Right.
That's what he wants. Wendy wants to be a boss.
And
Right.
you can tell by how she's moving with Jim and trying to get in good with the senator and whatnot.
Right.
So, you know, Wendy really is trying to make power moves to
Right.
position herself to be at the top.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she wants to influence and stuff. Marty just wants to keep the kids alive. You see, he wants to go back to Chicago, go back to his normal life. Wendy thinks she a queen pin, and then she wants to have all this influence.
Yeah. And you can see like in Chicago, like things definitely took a turn with Javi showing up with the sample and whatnot. But, you know, Marty always uses things like he's very attentive and he can get information that can help him in another situation. And so this situation with Javi comes out, and I think, you know, it was very smart of him to try to get Javi out the picture. And so that arms deal, you know, it's a way to kill two birds with one stone. I can get Javi out the way and I can get something that the government would like in this Navarro deal that we're trying to work out to get Maya back on his side. And so basically he arranges it where he gives up that information to the FBI, and Javi's arms deal is, is seized. And I thought that it was very risky, very ballsy of Marty. And this is something that we don't really see from him, but it goes back to what we were kind of talking about when somebody's backed into a corner. What moves do you make? And it seems like Wendy's always making the power moves, but in this instance, we seen Marty doing it. But Javi's unpredictable too at the same time. So it's like, I don't know if that was a smart thing, because in episode 4, we see Javi questioning him, thinking he's the mole,
He's the obvious mole, I think. I think it was obvious that it had to be him, and if not him, Navarro. I think the whole idea that Marty and Wendy facilitated the government raiding their rival automatically makes them suspect of when anything with the government is happening.
Exactly.
So I think he just pointed a finger at himself. Yeah, too much of a coincidence.
It is, but you're right. But the only thing to say, Marty, is that he didn't know where the drops were. So that's where I think it points back to Navarro, because Marty did not know where the drops were. He does have the government connection, but he didn't know the drops. So that.
But Javi was sloppy talking, freely around Marty about that. That's how Marty got the information in the first place. So I think that if Javi wants to blame Navarro, he can, but he's not as tight on his end as he thinks he is.
Well, Navarro and Javi needs to get on the same page too, because Navarro wants one thing, Javi wants another, and as much as Javi fights to admit it, he still needs Marty and Wendy.
And I will say that Wendy tried to tell Navarro. She called him up and was like, look, you need to do something. She was like, sometimes your what you want is going to require sacrifice. And she was basically talking about Javi. And Navarro pushed back, and he was like, you don't tell me how to run my business. Wendy has a way of getting out of line with him. But he was telling the truth.
Yeah. But he likes Wendy.
He does.
Yeah. He seeks Wendy's counsel. I'll get to you, Wendy.
And even Marty finally got some balls and told Navarro, look, your way is not working. You need to step back and let us handle this. And then hung up the phone on him. And I really appreciated that, because Navarro is this, they're these types that they think that regardless of how difficult the situation is, if I tell you to do it, it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can't work that way. Sometimes it takes more finesse. And what Marty wants to bring into the whole situation is finesse. Navarro wants to strong arm, and strong arming don't work all the time.
Right. Now, the other thing that I noticed with Javi is he was making some very odd comments in regards to Charlotte. And I was like, what is up with him and Charlotte?
Yeah.
Like,
he feed her what?
Yeah.
Oysters? I was like,
I was a little uncomfortable with that.
I was very uncomfortable. I was like, what is this?
Yeah,
like, is he trying to threaten them?
I think so.
It was just awkward, because it's like, if you want to threaten their children's lives, threaten it. But it seems like he's targeting Charlotte in a sexual kind of way.
I feel that way too.
Me too. And I was thinking, if I were Marty sitting across that table like that,
he's too calm in that.
They were way too calm. I had slow your roll, bro. I mean, slow your roll.
Yeah, I think Marty's just unflappable. I definitely think he's bothered, but I think he's the type to not show his hand.
Right.
I just want to see him lose it once. That's all. I just want to see what it would be like if Marty lost it.
Yeah, I would love to see that, but I don't think we're going to get that just yet, because right now he's in too tight of a spot. But the other thing that happened in episode 3 with the Carrie deal, Ruth went behind Darlene's back and rearranged the deal with Carrie for the heroin, to which, Darlene eventually found out thanks to Wyatt. And Darlene confronts her, but I think she also admires Ruth, because she has the balls to do something like that. Like, who does that to me? You don't do that to me.
Right.
And so she's kind of like, I knew I picked you for a reason. I'm, basically glad to have you as a partner, because Ruth really had some guts to do that. And it ended up working out.
When she saw the money, that's when she changed her tune.
Yeah, because Big Frank, he was like, I'm not doing this deal with you. You're already in the hole with me in terms of the rehabs, which Wendy and Marty got the permits pulled. So, that's not happening. So not only do you not have the rehabs, now the sheriff is not even on your side no more. I'm not working with you. And so she basically lost out on somebody to sell her drugs, and Ruth did what needed to be done. She understood the assignment.
They did understand the assignment.
So I think that Darlene, even though I think she's territorial because of her relationship with Wyatt, she still admires, what Ruth is doing. And I'm glad that she at least let her know, like, okay,
And
I see you.
I think Ruth puts a little fear in Darlene a little bit every now and again too, because she knows that's a wiry young lady, and Ruth will take you out too now. Don't get it twisted.
Well, if we jump into episode 4, Darlene put that fear right back up in them too.
Yeah, Darlene is crazy.
Oh, she's crazy. But Ruth is just, it's that look she has.
I think she's cunning. She's definitely cunning and clever, as Marty says.
Yeah, I really love Julia Garner. She is an excellent actress. And so it's like she just, especially in this role, she's like so smart alecky, and kind of like, even though she's the unassuming one, like you don't expect her to be witty and very smart and maneuver the way she does, but she knows how to work with what she has.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's an excellent actress, and maybe that's why she has 2 Emmys. But also, she's on this other new show, Inventing Anna, on Netflix, that is very entertaining too, created by Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah, so I really enjoy Julia Garner. I would love to get an interview with her. So if you're watching, come to the spot, Julia. We love to have you.
You must have read my mind.
But so in episode 4, Carrie comes back to town wanting to hang out at the casino, and he ends up doing the most, overdosing and blowing up the whole spot. He really made things hot for them because they were supposed to be low key with that, and he brought all of this attention not only to Darlene and Ruth's operation, but also to Marty and Wendy with the casino. And so it really was a hot mess, to which, later on Carrie ends the deal because I guess he realizes that, I came from this type of environment. I don't want to be doing this as successful as I am. So he basically just came to town, caused a storm, and rolled out. But of course, like we said, continue raising the stakes. So they work out this other arrangement where, Marty, of course, can't get his drugs for Claire. That falls through, and he has to come up with another plan in order to get the drugs back, to which he makes this deal with Ruth. And that's kind of where the episode 4 ends. And so we're kind of like, okay, Marty, and like we said, he knows how to maneuver, and Marty knows how to make something out of nothing. So I get cut off in one area, and I know that Ruth and Darlene have the same product that I need. I'm gonna go roll with them. Well, not necessarily Darlene, because she doesn't know, and Darlene definitely doesn't want to work with the Byrdes.
And it's funny, the relationship that Marty has with Ruth. I mean, they tend to be at odds with one another, but somehow or another, Marty keeps her.
It's like father-daughter.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it is, because they were like family at first until everything kind of fell apart. So I think Marty definitely still has love for Ruth. Wendy is the one that's like really at odds.
Yeah,
he keeps her arm's length. When he wants her or needs her, he knows how to pull her back in. And that's a good. I mean, Marty. I think Maya. What's her name? Maya or Maya?
Maya. The agent.
Maya.
Yeah, she said it when she said to Navarro about Marty. He is extremely smart, smarter than the FBI. At what he does, and it just shows in everything he does. He knows. It's almost amazing how he can keep everything in order when all things around him is shot to hell. But he seems to just keep everything right there in place, and when he needs it, he has it. He uses it. Comes back to his center. I love that character.
But again, Wendy is always going to be the problem starter in that situation. When Marty and Ruth can have their own side relationship and really bond, like I think Ruth really has a soft spot for Marty and vice versa.
Mhm.
And so they really have their own thing, but Wendy always screws it up, especially when the sheriff was coming back in to question about what happened at the casino. And Wendy is volunteering all this information about Ruth.
Yeah,
And
she
I'm
was
like,
trying to set Ruth up, and I was like, "Ooh, Wendy, you are the worst."
she's
Yeah.
a hot mess, man.
She had a Jonah moment. So you see where Jonah comes from.
That's what I said. All the kids got it honest.
Exactly.
I don't think that Wendy sees that she has such a powerful influence on how they behave, but they are her children, truly.
That's true.
And Marty, he said something to her about it later. So he was just like, what are you doing? Like he checked her on the Ben thing,
Mhm.
and then he checked her like, why are you doing all, giving all this information to the cops about Ruth? Because like, have you forgotten that Jonah is also laundering for Ruth? Like if you jam her up, you're jamming our son up.
Yeah. And
Which
so
then
I
goes
just,
back on you.
yeah, Wendy's a mess. And then on the other end so the deal that went wrong with Carrie, of course, I'm thinking about the driver who tried to basically blackmail Darlene, and she blew him out of there, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, he unfortunately for him, he didn't know who he was
He
trying
ain't
to
know who
find.
he was dealing with.
Right. Darlene said, I know when I'm gonna be blackmailed, and he's not the type that's gonna stop. So I'm
Right.
gonna nip this in the bud.
But I have to say, I ain't gonna blackmail nobody with a 12 gauge shotgun in their hand. Okay, that ain't gonna be my move. Not then, not there. I may call you and see if I can work something out, but I'll be damned if I'm gonna be in front of you talking about we can work something out. No, with your gauge,
But my question to you guys is though, does this come back to bite them? Because now they have a dead man buried on that property. And I'm like, okay, somebody's gonna come looking for him eventually, and they're gonna
The
know that
sheriff
Ruth
asked
rode
about
back. Yeah,
The sheriff did ask Ruth about him.
right.
I like the
But
way
his family, and when things start heating up, and somebody's gonna say, oh yeah, Ruth got a ride from him. She was the last person we seen him with.
There
But
are a
like
lot
the
of
way she
bodies on
handled
that property, evidently, because she
Oh,
always
yeah.
has a good spot of where to
Okay.
take them.
But I
Maybe
like
that's
the
why
way-
the soil is so good.
And I like the
Well,
way
she-
I like the way Ruth handled it though with the sheriff. When she said, he's from out of town, so I don't know him. When she asked the question,
Yeah.
Ruth, I like the way she answered it, and her facial expression was rather truthful, if you will. So it's a good question, but I don't really see it happening because of who he is.
Well, Darlene also told him to use the lie. So, the lie is dissolving the body. I don't think they're going to find much.
Yeah, right. You're not gonna find much.
Reminds me of Teddy and Snowfall. I mean,
Yeah. But the other thing though, that with that incident, it kind of changed things with Wyatt and Darlene, because I don't think Wyatt had ever seen that side of her. And I think that really scared him.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and it seemed like he stayed the night with Ruth that night, but he figured he had to go back home. And I'm like, okay, he's really in love with Darlene, and it's so odd to watch, but I think that now he realizes that he has to tread lightly with her, because she kind of has like this no nonsense, short fuse side of her that now he knows exists.
Well, he loves her, but he also feels allegiance to that baby Zeke too.
Yes.
So they made a little family and all that. So a lot of it has to do with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah.
you feel
that he's afraid of her.
He is afraid of her.
And do you feel as though that love is based on something else other than just love itself? Like what's that? It's a psychological thing when you
Talking about like the Oedipus complex. Is that what you're saying? The mother?
Munchausen, I believe it's called.
That's not much of it. That's one.
What is it called?
I'm thinking the Oedipus complex because of the mother situation.
Well, he's definitely missing something in his life, but the mere fact that he protects Darlene the way he does, it's got to be something other than love.
Protecting his woman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard of May December relationships, but this is May December plus 40 years. So I guess it can happen.
Yeah. And I guess the last person that I want to talk about for these 2 episodes is this private investigator who has been snooping around with Wendy's father. And, it's revealed because Wendy, of course, we talked about her going on her whole campaign trying to, paint Ben as this missing brother that was addicted to drugs. And her father reveals to the private investigator, like, he didn't have a drug problem. And so it's like, it was also really sad that her father had to find out from the private investigator that Ben was missing in the first place. And so we're kind of getting this history of Wendy and her family dealings. And you can see that her and her father might have like this strained relationship. And so I think that, again, we talked about Marty telling her not to make things hot. Wendy going on her campaign gave the private investigator the information he needed to go digging. And so it's kind of like now all of this attention is being drawn to the situation with Ben. And I'm just like, it doesn't help. And I think this private investigator is going to continue to be an issue.
He got to go. But
Yeah.
I was going to say the thing about the father, he said something that really struck me about Wendy. When he said something like she lost her path a long time ago. And he said, like, you can't believe what she says, or something like that. He said something about, and I was like, oh, for a parent, for a father to say that. I was like, so Wendy been off the chain for a minute. Look, she was just waiting for an opportunity with the cartel. But she already was a trip. And now with the cartel,
but that is also his perception, because you get the idea that he's very concerned about what other people think, because he was like, well, did you go to the church? Did you mention this to the church? So I think I would take that. Of course, we can see that there is something going on with Wendy. That's true. But you also wonder how she got there, because you have Wendy, then you have her brother who has his issue, and then you look at the father and you say, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And did you
know
that on the mantle that it was all these pictures of Ben? Did you see any when he was little and stuff? Did you see any pictures of Wendy?
Right. And you could tell that the father is really concerned about how he's going to be received by the people in church too, because he was kind of like, did you talk to anybody else in town about this? And so I think that's another aspect of maybe why they have a strained relationship, because we know Wendy does her own thing, and maybe the father is more conservative and religious maybe, and kind of plays by a certain set of rules.
Yeah, you took it right out of my mouth. I think he's like some fathers that want their daughters to be a certain way. And the moment the daughter tries to, push and be herself, she becomes a problem in the family. And, and I think that's more what his problem is with Wendy than it is something else. The mere fact, like you said, Tiffany, that he has all these baby pictures of Ben, but you're not checking out Wendy. Some fathers may, he's probably one of the type fathers that didn't want a daughter to begin with. So, it's hard to know, where this problem lies, but I know he has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. And so if we talk about where we see things going for the next couple of episodes, I think, Wendy is uncheckable. You can't control her. I think she's going to continue with her nonsense and, this whole PR spree. And I think it continues to bring problems. I really do see that. The private investigator, he got to go. He got to go for sure. I think Wendy needs to talk to Navarro about getting them like a henchman, kind of the same guy that worked for Helen, somebody that can do their dirty work, because that guy got to go.
He's so into it. It makes me believe.
Yeah, I think he's signing his own death certificate.
Yeah, but he's so into it. It makes me believe he's something else other than just a PI. Because he tends to show up in the right places, and he's just digging so hard on this death, of Helen. It just makes me believe that he could be more than what he's letting on to believe us to believe.
He's good at his job. He just got issues.
He's hella good at his job, but I wonder if in his past he doesn't have a few bodies on him too,
Right. But we know from all of these crime shows we watch, usually the overzealous ones are the ones that don't make it.
Yeah.
So I'm betting that he's gonna have to, get killed at some point.
Mhm.
And in terms of their family dealings, like we kind of already hinted at, I think Erin is going to be a big problem for them. I think she's going to eventually tell her dad, and things are going to escalate there.
Yeah.
And then I think Jonah continues to complicate the situation, playing both sides of the fence, with Darlene and the Byrde family
I'm scared for Maya too, to be honest.
Yeah.
and her mother. We said that
And her
last time. Yeah.
And the baby. I think Maya Mir stepped in more than what she's willing to wipe off, because you get too deep with this cartel business, and it's just a problem when you have a family like that. So
And another prediction I'll throw out there, this was a smaller part of the episode, but Ruth hiring Sam to manage the hotel. I mean, I know they wanted somebody that was too stupid to figure out what was going on, but he's a liability because sometimes not knowing all the details is worse than knowing the details.
Right. And he's got a mouth, so he's willing to just.
And he's an innocent, and it makes me think about, I don't know if you watched Courtney Kemp's Q&A. She said a lot of times on her show, she was like, the innocents don't survive.
Yeah,
and he is an innocent. So yeah, I mean, different show, but same concept.
It might raise a red flag to tell someone that a 16-year-old is doing your books and handling
right.
Like that might raise a red flag.
14. Right.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I enjoyed these 2 episodes. I'm definitely looking forward to discussing the next few. I think as we go on next week, we'll probably do 5, 6, and 7 all together, and that's where the mid-season kind of ends until Netflix releases the rest of the season. So I'm definitely looking forward to talking about those. So far, everything is heating up, and there's a lot of stuff going on that keeps them in this situation. It's never an easy, clean answer. So I really enjoy how they set up this season and the kind of new characters they've introduced that helps complicate the picture there. Do you guys have anything else to add before we close out?
I was feeling the 21 Savage outro music.
Oh, we talked about the music. Whoever's doing the music for this show is definitely in tune with the culture. But it's funny that they put it on with Marty Byrde. It's like Marty is so like calm and relaxed and chill, but then you got this kind of like hip hop, bumping music, and it's like it seems like so opposite of Marty, but it fits the situation.
Because especially when you listen to the lyrics of the 21 Savage song, you could almost, I thought about Ben when he talked about his brother and stuff in reference to Ben, and it was in a scene with Marty and Ruth sitting there. So I was like, this song works.
Yeah, it's so funny though, because I could never see Marty listening to 21 Savage. But yeah, whoever does the music, great job.
I think Wendy will continue to be Wendy, and I to a degree, I think that's a good thing. I think that she's beginning to see more of Navarro and what he has for her, and that's going to play out to some degree, because Wendy's on the up and up, and she's hungry to be in this life. There's just something with Wendy that she's just got to be in it. So. Yeah, and she loves that. She relishes power. So let's see what happens with her.
Yep. Got anything, LaWanda?
It's hard to make predictions. I don't want to say anything.
Okay.
I've been right. I'm tiptoeing through it.
Okay. Well, to our viewers out there, we want to thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, like the video, and click the notification bell so that you are alerted every time we post. We are also on all social media platforms at The Spot Real Talk. So give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Fanbase, everything. And if you are also interested in watching our recaps for the new show featuring Joseph Sikora, Force, we will be recapping that as well. So make sure you check out that recap. And to our viewers, drop down in the comment box and let us know what you thought about this episode. If you want to give predictions, you can. You probably already binged the whole series, but just let us know what you think about what happens in these 2 episodes. So we're probably going to call it a night. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Tell you this, if baby wants sit, she can sit. If baby says lit, it's lit. Got your bank account and that cute. If she said it loud, it's the truth. If baby wanna ride, she can ride. If baby needs some time, she got time. Got your bank account and that cute. She can make it count. How about you? She would put you in the bag. Wouldn't even need a planet. If she wanted, she a magnet. They should let her name a planet.